Yes, sir.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, item number 1, the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I would request that we pull item I from the consent agenda and vote on that separately. I'll make that in the form of a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion has been made and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, so the rest of the consent agenda, items A through H, what's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now for item I. Mr. Speed, you brought this out.
Yes, you know, we serve at the pleasure of the public, and they demand our transparency. This item here gives the impression that we are trying to deter the public from seeking information from us, so I urge you all to vote no to item I.
Okay, is that in the form of a motion?
I'll make that the form of a motion.
Chairman, I'd like to comment.
Yes, sir.
So while I appreciate Commissioner Speed's comment regarding these fees, the government's got to be very careful on how we spend the taxpayers' dollars. And if I call and I feel like there's a problem in our government, and I want to see a memo somebody sent or an email, or I want to see a receipt of a check written, that's an easy thing that a clerk or someone on staff can easily get a copy of that, get it and email it, or mail it or submit it to me in person. I can come out and pick it up. But when you have requests that could take 100, 200, 300 manpower hours of the staff's time, who already are working so hard with the workloads that they have, and to ask them to go above and beyond that and not be able to give them additional time for pay or take the other work off of them so that they can do that, I think is a disservice to our employees. So we need to be able to collect a reasonable fee for things that are significantly large requests. So again, if a citizen wants to know about a copy of a report, or they want to see where a check was written or something like that, you know, that's an easy task that I don't think would take too much of anybody's time. But when you're collecting multiple documents over various entities, staff, other agencies, I think that's something that warrants some type of contribution from the requestee. I don't think that's unfair.
Can you give me an example of where we're being put through this or subject to this?
What I just said, something that, a request that would require a couple hundred hours of manpower time from the county. Let's say it's all regarding finance. Let's just use that as an example. It's about money that's been spent, and it would take finance 100 hours to pull all that information together. Not only does the staff have to pull it together, but because it's a legal request, then you've got to get the county attorney involved, the staff attorney involved. Then you've got to get the county attorney to also collaborate and be sure it's above board, decent, and complete. Because if you submit this book and say, this is everything you've asked for, Mr. John Q. Public, and you left this out by mistake, guess what's going to happen? They're going to eat your tail alive. So you can't just go, oh, well, let me see if I can throw this together for you. Here you go. Thank you very much. You've got to really be considerate of what they're being asked for, and be sure that you fully disclose all of the information, because that's the purpose of the information request, is all of it. And so in order to do justice to all of it, it takes time.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor. Is,
This would not apply. Only things that
Chairman Bum, may I ask a question?
yes, Ms. Bragg has got
Sorry,
my
go
attention
ahead.
first, and then you.
I was going to say the same thing that our attorney just said,
Okay.
that was written in there, that there is, this is not for every routine request. This is for requests that are over a certain number of hours and a certain number of pages. So it's not, it's not for every, it's just when they're really large requests. Also, if you poll the other counties and all, there are other counties that do this. This is their practice. So it's not just Franklin County wanting to do this, because it is a problem, and it does become a problem, so other counties are doing this also.
Okay.
Can I ask you
Yes,
another
sir.
question? Do we have any idea how many of these requests are under 3 hours, as far as maybe a percentage, or is it a majority versus over?
You say it's pretty rare when you go over 3 hours.
Yeah.
If it's all that rare,
is 20 hours.
yeah, I think we've had that.
We have spent more than 20 hours.
Right, and we didn't do a rule change to do it.
We didn't charge
I remember it being talked about. So no action's been done with it?
them.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? There's been a motion made. Is there a second? Hearing none, the motion dies.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion, we approve item I on the consent agenda.
I second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Item number 2 on our agenda is comments from the public. This is a time set aside by the Board of Commissioners to allow individuals 5 minutes to address the board on issues concerning the county. First person on our list is Scott Strickland.
Morning, Sheila Lane. Good to see y'all after the holiday. And I'd like to thank Commissioner Shriver for checking on me one day outside the road. I thought it was broke down, but I was actually answering a text. And I appreciate that a lot, because it meant a lot to me. When you pull over the side of the road and they thought it was broke down, that was great. But anyway, what I want to talk about is my group is doing well. We got over about 21 folks to register to take the medical responder class tomorrow night. It starts, and I think we're moving in the right direction. We had a great turnout with the fundraiser we done with the sheriff, and I appreciate everyone that donated, that helped us get that on the way, and it was a great event. Kevin said he was real tickled to death. So that's a great thing. We got a lot going on this year that we want to try to do. We, like I said, starting the medical responder course, and we're going to try to do a couple more fundraisers throughout the year to raise money to try to finish our project with the defibrillators and the parks and stuff all across the county. And maybe asking y'all for some help with that. And with that, that's all we got. And I'm just happy to be here to let you know about my group. Thank you.
Mr. Strickland. The next person on our list is Krista Duncan.
Krista Duncan, 834 Duke Valentine Wynn Road in Lewisburg. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here to express my continuing concerns regarding our Animal Services Department. It should be no surprise that our group of advocates were thrilled when back in August of last year, after years of work, the previous shelter manager was fired for cause stemming from a state investigation. This was our opportunity to turn things around and start fresh, or so we thought. Unfortunately, no one had a true plan to correct the years of mismanagement once that termination was carried out. The correct action at that time would have been to bring in a professional consulting firm large enough to provide us with an interim manager and eventually help us recruit a truly qualified permanent shelter director. Instead, people with absolutely no experience in day-to-day shelter management or even a working history in dealing with cats and dogs on a professional level were given this monumentally important task. I was told by Will Dorfer before he resigned that the commissioners had approved the hiring of just such a consulting firm. He was actively seeking proposals from some of the firms recommended. Instead, however, there were a couple of people who were able to act behind the scenes and convince the powers that be to hold off on hiring the consultant. Those behind the scenes people told us that they had the right person for the job. He was a former sheriff, and he is our now current interim shelter director, Mr. Jerry Jones. We were assured that not only did Mr. Jones have a love for animals, but that he could handle the shelter rebuilding because as sheriff, the shelter fell under his purview many years ago. We believe that behind those behind-the-scene actors, who were fellow advocates that fought alongside us in demanding changes for previous leadership. Unfortunately, we trusted them and did not argue against Mr. Jones' appointment. In hindsight, it is evidence that Mr. Jones was not the right choice. I met Mr. Jones in December when my husband and I dropped off some donations we made to the shelter. He is a nice man and appeared very appreciative of our gifts and of gifts of many other people who donated that same day. I don't doubt that he has a genuine love of animals, but it takes more than that to effectively run a shelter. It appears that there are less animals being euthanized, which is a good thing, but it's not efficient policy and procedure driving that result. Instead of building more and stronger rescue relationships, there are even fewer rescues pulling from our shelter. We need more rescue involvement to keep capacity at a manageable level. Instead, the county is paying $25 per day per dog to have overflow dogs boarded locally. Last I heard, there were at least 10 dogs boarding since before Thanksgiving. This certainly is not an efficient use of shelter funds. Plus, it is nearly impossible for the boarded dogs to have public exposure because they cannot be seen by potential adopters or rescue representatives that come into the facility on a regular basis. Lack of manpower and lack of SOPs, standard operating procedures, are the main excuses being given for the current state of shelter operations. But I think most problems are stemming from a lack of leadership and a lack of an experienced and qualified shelter manager. For example, at the December advisory board meeting, most of what I heard is that we are short-staffed, our people lack experience, and we are making slow progress. Mr. Jones said that he only had 3 employees. The truth is that there are actually 8 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees. So why try to give the impression of having only 3? It feels like a lot of smoke and mirrors, obfuscating the root cause for the lack of measurable progress. Last year, you approved a creation of a new shelter position, outreach coordinator. That was intended to facilitate bringing more rescue groups back into the fold. The coordinator's other main purpose was to reestablish and oversee a vibrant volunteer program once again. That position has twice been filled in the last 4 months, and yet it is currently vacant again. Both coordinators quit under Jerry's leadership. This is disturbing because the last person to hold that position did have shelter experience and was well known and well respected in the rescue community. Several rescues were excited to hear that she was working for our county. I am also aware of at least 2 other employees besides the coordinators that quit under the watch of Mr. Jones' short tenure. What is really going on? Why is it that we cannot attract or keep employees with experience? Apart from fewer animals being killed, I don't really feel there are any differences than what we had under the previous shelter leadership. Transparency and communication are still virtually non-existent. We should be so much further ahead by now. The current state of shelter operations is very upsetting to the many advocates who have been working for positive changes for years.
Okay, it's been 5 minutes. Is there a motion to extend our time?
Make the motion.
I just have like 2 more sentences.
Second.
Motion has been made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Please, I beg you, hire a consulting firm immediately that can provide true leadership in this delicate interim period and to ultimately help us recruit experienced and qualified permanent shelter management. It is beyond time the shelter get on the right track. Our county's animals and citizens deserve better than this, and I hope to see positive changes soon. Thank you.
Ms. Duncan. The next person on our list is Gary Faulk.
I'm Gary Faulkner. I live on Douglas Williams Road, 717 Douglas Williams, over in the Castoria zip code. It's actually near Centerville. I've been before this board numerous times regarding different topics, primarily water and transportation. I've lived in the county all my life. I love the county, and I strive very hard to make this county a better place to live and work. I've got a couple things I want to go through, but first of all, I want to ask the commissioners, how many of you actually read the Franklin Times? Well, we've got 2 or 3 that actually reads the paper. Well, there was an article in there a couple of weeks ago about off-stream reservoirs. And fortunately, we've got some bright leaders in Lewisburg that actually listened to the engineers that did a water study for them that has recommended off-stream reservoirs. Amazing. The county has been looking into this for, I know, the last 10, 15, 20 years, and no one mentions off-stream reservoir or reservoir, period. We insistently want to buy our water from others. And if you read the paper, I had a letter to the editor in there praising Lewisburg for their efforts and condemning the county leadership for falling down on your responsibility to bring water resources to this county independent so that we're not depending on others for water. I'm yet to see a study that come from the county or their consultants that indicate off-stream water is even feasible. I know you've looked at, and I've suggested, the 1931 study, which recommended reservoir on the Tar and Fishing Creek to no avail. But a couple things I did want to do. Town of Youngsville, I commend them for standing up and doing what's right for their citizens on the bypass. That has impressed me greatly. They're doing the right thing. Number 2 is the town of Lewisburg. They're doing the right thing for their citizens, something that this county should be looking at years ago, is looking at an independent water source to help them grow into the future. The other item is on the agenda, purchase of parcel 011301, which is the Edwards and Foster property up in northern Franklin County. I'm yet to see anything at a purchase price, let me repeat that, of $1.5 million. Taxpayer money, $1.5 million. And I have not seen anything as to why the county is willing to spend that money, that much money, for, is 127, 28 acre land in rural northern Franklin County. What is the purpose? What would it be used for? So I think this commission owes the citizens of the county an explanation of why you're going to spend that much money on that chunk of land. And don't get me wrong, if it's a valid purpose, go for it. I'll support you 100%. But it goes back to looking at independent water sources that we can utilize to help grow this county. We already know that development has been stifled, rationed, more or less, water commitments, because we do not and have not secured long-term water for the county. It would pay every one of you to look at the report that the engineers did for the town of Lewisburg. It's a good document.
Mr. Faulkner, your 5 minutes are up.
Make a motion to extend.
Second.
Motion has been made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Thank you.
Motion carries.
Again, I'll reiterate that this document, even though it's still somewhat draft, you need to look at it. You need to read it. You need to understand it. It's a world of information in here, and they have proven that it's possible to get through the red tape, regulatory rules and regulations to construct a reservoir, be it off stream, not on the Neuse, not on Fishing Creek. It's possible to do that. It's not going to be cheap, and it's not going to be short term. We still need to be looking short term to get us through that point. But off stream reservoir is what this county really needs to be looking at to serve long term. The last thing I want to mention very quickly is I had a meeting with the NCDOT about a month or two ago, before Brandon retired, and went over the list of projects that Franklin County has. There was discussion of possibility of course, the DOT is looking money, trying to get through coming years. So there's a possibility the US 401 may be pushed back. I encourage every one of you to contact DOT and tell them not to move US 401 from Royal to Lewisburg or the projects here on Bickett Boulevard. They are needed. They are sorely needed. Urge them to keep those projects on track. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Faulkner. The next person on our agenda is Susan Dixon.
I received a letter just before Christmas marked an envelope, December the 20th was the postmark. And it was from Hexagon Energy. And inside was a map of a proposed solar farm project and a letter to me. And the letter is dated July 12th. So I began to be suspicious that this project planning has been going on a long time and that the community has not been notified. I don't know what y'all know about this, or if it's in the being considered. But this map seems to be about 300 acres of proposed solar panels. And I am downhill from those solar panels. And I've written this down just so I won't go astray and take too much time. I forgot to tell you my address. I live at 1511 Duke Valentine Wynn Road. Before moving here, I worked 32 years in public education. Most of those years were in Wake County. I retired at age 60 and looked 7 years for the retirement property of my dreams. I found this property in Franklin County. Recently, I looked on the internet at a beautiful plan for growth and conservation of open spaces in Franklin County. Nowhere in the plan for the future did I see any mention of solar energy plans or rural property being desecrated by rows and rows of solar panels. I did see this in quotations. Give people a reason to come here and a reason to stay here. And rural charm with access to modern amenities. These are the reasons I retired here. This plan threatens that dream of staying here. And I'm here tonight because I received this map and the envelope that was postmarked a different time. This was personal at first, but it became something else. It made no sense to me that I received something postmarked the 20th that was written on the 12th of July. So my suspicions were aroused. After doing a bit of internet research, I looked at the maps designating rural property in Franklin County and topographic maps of the area designated for the Diamond Solar Project. My property is downhill from the entire project, and my front pasture and driveway are the lowest elevation I measured on the map. Because I know water does not run uphill, I continued my search because I was very alarmed. Renewable solar comes with recurring costs and impacts, hydrological and ecological processes. Migration routes of animals are disturbed. There's loss of habitat, erosion, elimination of plant life, and subsequent loss of CO2 absorption and runoff. Heat and humidity levels are also altered by solar farms. I continued my search, and it became not personal, but about this county. The construction and operation of solar facilities generate particulate matter, which is a significant pollutant. Solar panels require more energy and fossil fuel burning equipment to mine, manufacture, and transport than they save. Toxic chemicals are used in the manufacturing process, which do more harm than good. These toxic compounds are not only a concern during the manufacturing process. When spent panels have lost their usefulness, they must be disposed of. There's also concern about toxic leakage if panels are damaged. The lifespan of those solar panels is 25 to 30 years. Many of the land lease contracts are for 20 years. The company stops maintaining the property and leaves the landowner with the problem of disposal, unless preliminary measures are taken to hold the energy company responsible. Even then, disposal is a problem. Our recycling infrastructure for solar panels is not prepared for the amount of water waste that will be produced when panels need to be disposed of or replaced. Farmland lost is farmland lost forever. The chances of any solar farm returning to productive farmland is nearly impossible. The infrastructure, concrete, and galvanized metal leach into the ground, and there's no way to get it out. If we are forward thinking.
Ms. Dixon?
Yes.
I apologize. Your 5 minutes is up.
Make a motion to extend.
Second.
The motion is made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, and thank you, Roxanne, for not saying no.
They didn't give me a chance.
If we are forward thinking and care about, she's the only one I know of there. If we are forward thinking and care about future generations, we must consider the long-term consequences of solar panels on farmland. Littering the landscape of the beautiful county is irresponsible decision-making. Within 25 years, New York will find itself trying to manage the disposal of 5 million or more waste solar panels every year. That is nearly 100,000 per week for a very, very long time. If we keep adding and accepting the so-called clean energy of solar panels, we will also be left with the challenge of dealing with the numerous toxic metals in solar panels, as the cost of will ultimately be paid by electricity taxpayers who have received no benefit from the energy produced and sold by these private companies. It is time to consider the actual cost of solar power and a plan to handle resultant waste. All of the clean energy companies that I researched are only in the business for the money. They are not building solar farms on their own doorsteps, but are like vultures preying on rural areas where they can just walk away. Communities concerned about the end of solar farms have the option of establishing requirements that property owners and solar farm developers must prepare and submit plans for decommissioning installed photovoltaic systems at the end of life in order to become authorized to develop the property. Surely these steps have been taken and waste management plans developed for the already authorized use of farmland for solar purposes. Not to consider one's neighbor and the long-term consequences of approving non-agricultural use of farmland is unthinkable. I vehemently oppose poor stewardship of the earth. To quote Will Rogers, buy land, they ain't making any more of the stuff. There are reasons we have land use laws. Large companies should not have a louder voice than the people who will be negatively affected by their money-making ventures that dupe the public into thinking that solar energy is clean or free. So I don't know what's going on with this plan, but I hope I have made a difference if they are asking for permission to put 300 acres of solar panels near my home. And I know in my heart that this county is one of the most beautiful places I have ever lived. And I really, really am speaking for the community now, not just myself. And thank you for extending my time.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon. Becky.
Thank you.
That concludes the public comments for tonight, so we're moving on to item number 3, which is a public hearing. Rolling Meadows Utility Development Agreement. I'm gonna call on Chris Doherty, come forward.
Good evening. Excuse me. The item before you is a utility development agreement with the owners of the property of the proposed development. I will turn it over to Bill Moss to describe the project. It's time. Bill.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening, and I appreciate this opportunity to describe the Rolling Meadows project. Rolling Meadows is a proposed development of over 1,000 residential units north of downtown Youngsville that will bring significant benefits to Franklin County. Most prominently, the construction of the first segment of the Youngsville bypass between Fleming Road and Cedar Creek Road, a distance of over 1 mile that will account for almost 1/3 of the entire proposed bypass, all designed, engineered, and constructed with private funding. Rolling Meadows will also benefit the county by providing up to 1,000 new customers for the Franklin County Public Utilities Department. Each customer represents approximately 3 residents. Current population of Youngsville is approximately 2,630 people. Moreover, construction of more than 1,000 residential units in Rolling Meadows will generate over $6 million in system development fees, and each of these residential units will generate substantial real property taxes annually for Franklin County. Finally, the terms of the development agreement state that the developer of Rolling Meadows will provide up to $1 million in funding for the expansion and upgrade of a sewer outfall that will run from Cedar Creek Road to an existing sewage treatment facility. All of these benefits to Franklin County depend on one thing: the financial viability of the Rolling Meadows development. And the financial viability of Rolling Meadows is dependent on it receiving water and sewer allocations that are uninterrupted throughout the entire build-out of this project. The proposed development agreement to be considered by this board tonight is designed to meet this very need. I'm here tonight with my two brothers, Jim Moss and David Moss, in the back, to speak on behalf of our family as owners of the land where Rolling Meadows is to be built. Between us, Jim, David, and I have 7 adult children and 10 grandchildren, for a total of 9 Moss families that have ownership interests in what would be the Rolling Meadows properties. We're also here tonight with Michael Fleming with BRD Land and Investment in the back as well. This is the Charlotte-based company identified as the, quote, purchaser in the proposed development agreement. Michael is head of BRD's land acquisition operations in the Eastern Carolinas. I need to note that BRD is quite different from a broker. BRD is not a builder. BRD's business model is as a developer that goes through the process of obtaining entitlements and permits that convert raw land into approved residential projects and lots ready for construction. Once a project is fully entitled and permitted, then BRD sells the project to a qualified developer to begin construction. After entering into an agreement to acquire land from the owner, it is BRD that does the design work, the entitlement work, the permitting work for the project. Rolling Meadows is already well advanced in that process, over 2.5 years so far, and it is now fully entitled, and phase 2 is in the last stages of being permitted for construction. Once this very complex, time-consuming, and expensive process is complete, BRD will sell the project to a qualified developer that will then be in a position to begin construction immediately. Let me add one quick point as to what a qualified developer is. A qualified developer is a developer that has the expertise and the financial resources to make Rolling Meadows a reality. And the development agreement specifically provides that the county must approve the developer. So the county has the ability to understand who the developer is and its scope of expertise and financial wherewithal. Rolling Meadows is more complex than most developments because it will actually be made up of 5 different neighborhood subdivisions with different lot sizes and housing product types, plus clubhouse and pool amenity complex. These 5 neighborhoods are illustrated in Exhibit A and in Exhibit F to the development agreement. As you can tell, Rolling Meadows will result in a substantial contribution of utility infrastructure for the county. Let me say a couple of quick things about the town of Youngsville, for those who don't know. It was founded in 1875. This is its 150th year. For most of its history, until 1990 or so, the town population was in the 650 range. Since then, like so much of this part of the world, there's been an explosion in growth. The zip code for Youngsville is 27596, but only about 10% of the land area in 27596 is inside the town limits. 27596 has gone from 1990, something around 4,000 residents, to 17,500 residents who live in the county and not in the town. So this is very much a county situation that we're dealing with the Youngsville bypass. All of this growth, of course, is being driven by Wake County and by Wake Forest. A lot of people don't realize how close Youngsville is to to Wake County and to Wake Forest. Well, in fact, some of Wake Forest is in Franklin County and touches some of the town limits of Youngsville. The intersection that is the biggest hotspot that will be taken out of being a hotspot by the new Youngsville bypass is right at Youngsville Elementary School. That's where Highway 1A comes through Youngsville. It's met by Holden Road, which comes up from Capitol Boulevard and then turns into Main Street. Well, Main Street is where Highway 96 now goes. And at that intersection near the Youngsville Elementary School, Highway 96 and 1A merge and go north. Here's what a lot of people don't realize. If you go to that intersection at Youngsville Elementary and you turn south and you head toward Wake Forest, how long before you get to Wake County? Less than 1.6 miles. Just over a mile and a half from that hot spot intersection, you get to Wake County. That's where Youngsville is. As you can tell, Franklin County can benefit tremendously from Rolling Meadows because Rolling Meadows will provide the funding for the first segment of this sorely needed bypass, plus other benefits to the county. And only with this development agreement will Rolling Meadows have the financial viability to go forward and provide these benefits. And we ask that you vote to approve the development agreement tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. What is a development agreement? A development agreement was prepared using, or the development agreement was prepared using the NC Development Agreement Act that was effective in June 19th of 2020. The act applies to multiple phase developments over many years that have community impacts, which require careful coordination of public facilities, capital planning. The act gives local governments the freedom to negotiate with developers in order to integrate developments into the community. The act requires a notice of public hearing, which is a legislative hearing in advance of adoption of a development agreement. The agreement must describe the public facilities, the period of time for development of each phase, a development schedule no greater than 5 years for each phase, allocation of the financial responsibility, and performance guarantees. Under a development agreement, the laws that apply at the time of adoption may not change unless the agreement says otherwise. The agreement may be modified by mutual consent. The agreement must be recorded with the Register of Deeds within 14 days of adoption. Why is the county entering into the Rolling Meadows agreement, development agreement? Well, delayed allocation for water and sewer utilities. 250 lots have already been allocated. That allocation will be revoked, and roughly 33,750 gallons per day will return to the county. The conditions of the agreement: no allocation until the Moss Brothers has sold the property to BRD. No allocation will be granted until BRD has sold to developers. Both sales must be with full disclosure and complete transparency as to the information provided to any developers and any entity that furnishes financing to said developers regarding the entitlements and contractual terms and conditions set forth in the proposed development agreement. Immediately paid system development fees for any allocation at the rate in effect at the time of allocation. Otherwise, because the development has 5 subdivisions, no SDFs will be paid until the issuance of building permits. The SDFs will total $6,363,280. The cap for all the water and sewer utilities will be set at 143,655 gallons per day for the entire development. That's including amenities within the development. Phase 1 will be first. Phase 2 does not begin until there are 48 completed units in each of the 3 subdivisions in Phase 1, and the bypass in Phase 1 is open for vehicular traffic. The developer must have 48 completed units in each subdivision of Phase 2 before the developer is allocated anymore for those subdivisions. A 5-year schedule for each phase must, and it will not exceed 10 years as shown on the development schedule that's in the packet in your agenda. On each allocation, developer has 2 years with the right to 1-year extension for the allocation, same as that is written in the water and sewer allocation ordinance, chapter 34, section 34-2, from the date of allocation. The developer must complete all of the bypass in Rolling Meadows before more than 250 units receive certificates of occupancies. Full indemnity from the developers for all obligations in the agreement. On each of the requests for allocation, the developer shall provide a cost of the installation and furnish a bond or letter of credit for such cost. The county does not agree to build any infrastructure. All on-site and off-site improvements must be done by the developer. The developer shall install a parallel sewer outfall from Cedar Creek Road to the wastewater treatment plant. If this cost is more than $1 million, the county may fund the excess. The county will also be reimbursed for its attorney's fees for the development agreement not to exceed $100,000. The next step will to hold the public hearing. Thank you.
All right, at this time, we're being asked to conduct a public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
So move.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, motion carries. So now, if you would like to speak at this public hearing, either for or against the Rolling Meadows Utility Development Agreement, please come forward.
Figured I was close enough to the front, I'd just go ahead and jump in. Fonzie Flowers, Mayor Town of Youngsville. County Commissioners, thank you guys so much for everything that you do. And thank you for giving me a few moments to address you and hopefully urging you to approve this development agreement. I'm here tonight to express the Town of Youngsville's sincere appreciation for the draft utility development agreement as presented tonight. We're delighted to see this important step moving forward, and we deeply value your continued support for this project. We know that Franklin County shares our commitment to the well-being of our community and the people who live, work, and travel through Youngsville. This project is a perfect example of that collaboration in action. The expedited construction of the Youngsville bypass will be a critical improvement for both the health and safety of our residents, as well as the smooth flow of traffic through our town. We recognize that this infrastructure upgrade will significantly reduce congestion, enhancing the daily lives of those who travel along Main Street and improve the overall welfare of our entire region. On behalf of the Town of Youngsville, I want to thank you for your dedication and leadership in addressing the needs of our shared residents. The positive impact of this project will be felt for many years to come, and we are grateful for all that you do to help build a stronger, safer, and more prosperous community. We look forward to continuing our work together and are excited to see the benefits that this partnership will bring. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
How we doing, guys? Everybody all right? Michael Hogan, Atlas Drive, Youngsville, just on Cedar Creek Road. Are you aware of the traffic problem on Cedar Creek Road? Anybody? No? Do you realize at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, from the new traffic light that just got installed down towards the traffic light by Barra's Farmers Market on the corner of Main Street, it is a 20 to 30 minute endeavor to go less than 1/4 of a mile on Cedar Creek Road. And this new development is going to put 1,000 new homes on that road, or very close to that road. I encourage you, all of you, to do something to solve it. I don't care what, but something. Because pleased that you're gonna do a bypass on Main Street. I thought it's absolutely ridiculous that we have semi-trucks and 18-wheelers and all kinds of things going down Main Street. I thought this council would have dealt with that years ago. But good for you guys to work on it. I'm also very happy that you're with a new 1,000-unit in our town. You're working on the sewage department and the water department and electricity and making sure that those utilities have enough oomph to handle another 1,000 houses. I'm glad you guys are at least thinking about that. But let's try to do something about Cedar Creek Road. Because if you put another 1,000 cars on that road, we're gonna die. Okay, you gotta do something. I don't care what, just do something. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mason Rizzo, 204 East Franklin Street, Youngsville. I've had the pleasure of addressing the board with some older faces, and I see some new ones. So for some background, November 2023, I was crossing Main Street where we have all those cars and trucks and such, and I was hit in the middle of the crosswalk. I am a huge fan of pollinator gardens and used books. I don't like municipal procedures and local politics. No offense to any of you guys. I am here to speak momentarily in favor of the allocations requested by the Moss family, who have spent an immeasurable amount of time on this problem dating back to the 20th century. Unfortunately, as my friend has said, we are dealing with the inevitability of progress. As has been mentioned, Wake County is now Franklin County, and there are no borders anymore. I've had the misfortune of not just living in proximity to the population detonation that we have experienced as a zip code, but I've also had the misfortune of putting myself in between my destination and somebody who was simply in Youngsville to get through it. This is not a matter of if, but when. I think you guys can all agree, especially those of us in the construction and building community. There is no more time to discourage momentum for the 96 bypass. It is incumbent upon the board members here, like my friend said, to find by any means necessary a way to build momentum for this project and get the surface of Highway 96 off of Main Street, not just because of what it does to the business district and the downtown core residents who live in these places and have to share these streets with the thousands and thousands of cars each day. But we are also backed by an administration that is second to none, who has worked tirelessly with blood and sweat and tears, and they have gone to every level available for its constituents to get us out of the predicament that we are in, frankly, and saw coming since the 90s. I would not, on moral fiber alone, propose to you guys to build another 1,000 homes in Franklin County. I have had the fortune of living in Franklin County for 39 years, and I hope that I have the fortune of living in Franklin County another 39 years as well. But it's not my granddad's Franklin County. It's not y'all's granddad's Franklin County anymore. And unfortunately, what we are seeing is a collision of inevitability and immovability, and we are desperate for any measure necessary above and beyond what's being asked. And I truly appreciate the opportunity to speak to you guys tonight.
Do we have anyone else?
Hi, good evening. I've seen some of you before and some of you are new faces. So Happy New Year, everyone. My name is Ashley. I live in the downtown center of Youngsville, right near the Main Street that we all keep talking about, and Cedar Creek Road. I talk to and know a lot of people that are Franklin County residents for their whole lives. I am not one of them. But one thing I know from all of them is that this is not what Youngsville used to look like. Youngsville is different. We are changing. We have changed. And with change comes the need for more roads and more structure so that we don't have to deal with what we're dealing with now in downtown Youngsville. Mr. Shriver, you have been in downtown Youngsville. You know what it looks like when we see from 4 to 6. We can't go anywhere. I literally make my day around what time I should leave and come back from my home. Because if I do it at the wrong time, it's going to take me a long time. I agree. 1,000 homes, probably not something a lot of people will like. However, when you look at what these 1,000 homes and what this developer is going to do for our town, our little town, our small little Youngsville, that is no longer a small town anymore because of the mass people that we see every day come through our town. They don't stop at our businesses. They don't spend money in our county. Well, okay, maybe our county. They don't spend money in our town. But we who live there suffer for them every day to fly through our neighborhoods. I live on one of the neighborhoods off of Main Street. And just today I watched on my security camera somebody going, we'll just say well above the speed limit, through the stop sign, through downtown, and probably have no reason to be there other than we were a means to an end. They cut through us to get to where they're going. We do approve, or we would like to hear you approve this allocation. And we thank you for your time.
Kenny. You. Come on down.
These 1,000 homes. I think are rumored that they're gonna be low-income housing? Is that true? Or mid-range? Or, I mean, wow, I guess the great question is, are you gonna build 1,000 home ghetto across the street from my house? That's a good question.
The board is not allowed to.
All right. Well, I mean, is it gonna be if it's gonna be low-income housing with thieves and crooks, I mean, I'd like to object. I mean, tell the truth. If it's gonna be low-income housing, then we as the community should know that.
I agree, sir, and I believe the next speaker will speak to that point.
Fair enough. I'd love to hear the answer to that. I'm sure the whole group would.
I'm not entirely sure that I know what low-income housing means in this context. I think I know, but I'm sorry. I'm not entirely sure I know what low-income housing means in this context, but I can assure you that this is a project to sell residences at market rate. I mean, this is intended to be a project of houses mostly, but also townhomes that this entire county can be proud of. That's what this development is. And in order to generate the resources necessary to put in this first leg of the bypass, we're not talking what I would consider low-income housing. Thank you.
Good answer, thank you.
All right, do we have anyone else who would like to speak for or against?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
For just a minute. I would just like from Brian Christmas from the Youngsville Fire Department. From the fire department perspective on this, currently we're getting close to 200 calls a month, and responding to those calls, including medical calls along with EMS, with the traffic piled up downtown, it increases our time to respond. So if it's your family living in Youngsville, that's a delayed response. By opening up the bypass and approving this, it actually increases our response time to get over to the Cedar Creek area. So there's a lot of advantages from the public safety, and not to speak for EMS or law enforcement, same thing though, when they're responding, it opens up the traffic and it would make it flow a lot smoother. So thank you for considering.
Sir.
Jim Moss, 217 North College Street, Youngsville. Thank you tremendously for considering Youngsville's plight. I used an illustration a couple of years ago that I guess most of y'all were here for, but certainly not all of you, and welcome to the board, those who were not here 2 years ago. But Youngsville has a structural similarity to Lewisburg. In Lewisburg, the Tar River splits the town. There's a bridge across the river from Main Street and out here on Bickett Boulevard. In Youngsville, the split is the railroad, and they're both just about as insurmountable in terms of crossing. In Youngsville, we have Main Street also, the only commercial crossing of the railroad. There are two secondary crossings that are not designed for heavy traffic. So if you could imagine this town without Bickett today and all the traffic that each of you used to get here tonight, having to go down Main Street and that being the only crossing, that's pretty much what we have in Youngsville now. Is Bickett perfect? Absolutely not. Will this bypass be perfect? Absolutely not. But there are not many choices. In fact, it's, I would say, pretty unique. It's the only choice. The question, as someone said, is not if, but when. And if we leave it up to the NCDOT, it would appear it's maybe 30 years out, 30 years. With this link, we've got a reasonable shot at getting it down into the 10 and maybe even a little less. It certainly will not be tomorrow, but that's a tremendous, tremendous step. I asked you for favorable consideration hereof. It brings tremendous benefits, even apart from any of the benefits that have been mentioned. Just having a road, a second road that's designed for heavy traffic to flow for all purposes will be of immense economic benefit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to speak either for or against this? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion is made and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. What is the pleasure of the board?
I just want to make a comment on the water allocation for this. I want to make sure that Mr. Doherty, especially, or whoever's in charge of whatever, I don't have a question for you. I'm just going to say, you know, the allocation, we're going to, in this contract, we're taking back the allocation that we've already allocated Bowling Meadows. And we're saying that when so many houses, the 200 houses or whatever, then we will allocate them. We're guaranteeing them water. We're guaranteeing them allocation of water. We just need to have a system in place or whatever in place to make sure we have that allocation ready and available when they are ready for it.
Yes, ma'am.
That's my, I see that, you know, as being an issue, and we need to make sure we haven't allocated all the water out when they need it, because we're signing a contract saying we're going to give you this water. Okay?
Okay. Any further discussion?
I'd like to make a quick statement if I can as well. As someone that's going to live, that does live in very close proximity himself, aside from being a commissioner or resident of the county, that I think we have to be realistic as well with this, and that there's going to be, for the short term, a little bit more of a headache, it seems, as this bypass gets going and as we finish out the other ends. So I do want the public, including myself, to be aware that I do think this is necessary, but there's going to be some hard times up front. But I do want everybody to be aware and got to think about that. So delayed gratification in this to a certain degree.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'd also like to just add a couple things. Just some of the public comment here tonight, it kind of generated some thoughts that I think are important that we echo. And one is that this is the county supporting the town. It's a function that we as the county can do to support the town, is to offer this opportunity for a development agreement. Not something we have done before that I'm aware of, but we are doing it in this situation under this circumstance because of the great benefit that it offers as a potential. It was made building momentum. This is a building momentum, like Commissioner Davis just mentioned. It's not a guarantee. And it's probably going to be a little bit more painful before we can get some relief. But taking this step certainly opens the door for a lot more of an opportunity for the state to step up, because we're chewing off a third of the total cost right off the bat. That makes that a project a lot more enticing because there's a smaller amount of money demanding on what the DOT's resources. So I think that's really important. The roads in North Carolina are not county responsibility. They're not town responsibility. They are a state function of our state government. And people sometimes get sidebarred and lose sight of the reality that we are at the mercy of the state of North Carolina when it comes to our roads. And as much as we would love to build this bypass, and I think Franklin County lacks a lot of east or west connection. Burt Winston Road over to Lane Store Road is another perfect example. We can get north and south like nobody's business, but boy, we cannot get east and west. We can't do it. Everywhere you go, it's north and south, very little east and west. So I think it's just important as the community grows and people come to our hometown, like the lady said, Youngsville, that they realize that that's Youngsville and not where they came from. And that Youngsville and Franklin County, like all other counties in North Carolina and towns in North Carolina, it is not our function. It's not our charter. We don't get the funding like other states do where they send that money down. So I think it's very important that we're aware of that. And also there's been some speculation of whether this is in the town or going to be in the town. This is already in the town, Mayor, correct? Yes, this is not something that's not going to be in the town of Youngsville. This is already Youngsville's parcel of land. It's already being taxed. It's already being provided the services for. It's already there. So I think those are things that we need to be sure that we keep our eye on and realizing that this is a great opportunity to partnership. And there's been a lot of work done that the public doesn't see and the public doesn't get to see because it takes confidentiality to get to today. And I think it's important that we learn and remember to try and trust each other, because this is an example of hard work, confidentiality, and building a bridge together, and now being able to share something this great with our community. So I want to share those things and just kind of reiterate that as we kind of move through this. I think it's a great opportunity to kind of recap. So thank you for the time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'd like to say, going through Youngsville, right, that reminded me of old Roseville. Take you forever to get through that. Youngsville needs some help.
All right, so our action tonight is to conduct a public hearing and consider approval of the development agreement and authorize the county manager to sign all relative documents. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Mr. Davis. All right. Is there any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. Item number 4 are our action items on our agenda. And I'm gonna call on Miss Jamie Holtzman to come forward and talk to us about the purchase of parcel 031686.
The board is asked to grant final approval for the purchase of parcel ID number 031686, which is 1.49 acres located at 3422 US Highway 1 in Franklinton. To authorize the county manager to execute the appropriate documents to complete the purchase, subject to the approval of the county attorney. The agreed-upon price is $2,619,000. I also want to note that the funding source will be the general fund balance for this.
Okay. What is the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to purchase this property in Franklinton.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion that's properly second. Any further discussion on this item?
Mr. Chairman, are we going to discuss anything about what the county's intentions may be for this property in this purchase? The description doesn't say anything, but
Can we do that, Mr. Attorney? Dan?
Okay, Mr. Shriver, if you would like to, I'll turn it over to our interim county manager to elaborate.
So is the intention of the board, we took action on this based on guidance from the board to move forward with a EMS station at this location to provide a station that was needed and to provide services in that area. There's future plans for upfitting that building so that we could provide a station in that area, and future renovations are still to come, and we'll gather those estimates and get those to you. But based on this price and square footage, that provides adequate space to build an EMS station at this time.
Also, this is to include housing the senior citizen center in the front of that building. So in the back of the building will be the EMS station, and in the front, the senior citizen center. And that's what we agreed upon at the very first conversation of even purchasing this product.
I understood that as the primary function was certainly and clearly the EMS station, and that an option could be, but I don't recall a definitive answer being made regarding what other housing would be in this building.
Now, we talked about senior center from the very beginning, first discussion.
I don't disagree that that was a topic of discussion. What I am arguing is the fact that it was a confirmed decision. But I do think it's good. But I do think it's good that the public understands that we are being strategic. Because right now EMS buildings are running us about $3 million to $3.5 million from land acquisition, lot development to meet all the requirements for grade for the things because it's an EMS station, and then all of the structure requirements for it to be meet the requirements of having oxygen and all those things and the medications that are there. This is a more cost-effective approach, and it's in an area where we have a real need, and there's obvious very much growth there. So it allows a longevity in this building. So
when I became a commissioner, I actually brought this property up to our county manager that it was for sale and we needed to seriously look at it. We have the Senior Citizen Center in Franklinton that's been there a long, long, long time, and it's in a very old building. And not only is the building dangerous for our seniors to be in it at this time, it's also too small. And we know that I believe the older adults is our largest population. And it's growing and growing, and we're going to even need more services for older adults and more space. And that's why in the beginning, when I brought this up to the county manager, when I first became a commissioner, I said, we need an EMS station and a senior center, senior building in Franklinton, and along with some other buildings also. But they were two of the things, and I had talked to them about this building being there.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Which brings us to letter B, purchase of parcel 011301. Ms. Holtzman?
The board is asked to grant final approval for the purchase of 127.88 acres of parcel ID 011301 located at 2035 E and F Road in Lewisburg off of US 401 North, and authorize the county manager to execute the appropriate documents to complete the purchase. The agreed upon price is $1,545,240. Again, the funding source would be general fund balance.
Okay, so we've been asked to consider approval of this. What's the pleasure of the board?
Chairman, I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
So, like we talked about earlier, for the Rolling Meadows development agreement, how it took a lot of time and working together with different partners in a confidential manner to get to where we are today with that. This partial the public is curious of. And my answer to you is be patient. It has to remain confidential if we are going to achieve the goal that we are trying to achieve. If we made it public, it's going to jeopardize that greatly. So to just have a little faith that we are all working to the better benefit of our county. That's the only comment I wanted.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman.
I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion is made and properly second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item letter C, Emergency Medical Services Department update. Mr. Matt Masters.
Yep, I got you. Thank you, Commissioners, for allowing me to give you the EMS annual update for 2024. Give you a little overview about our department. We currently have 10 frontline ambulances, 5 shift captains, 41 paramedics, 38 of those are full-time, 3 are part-time, 48 EMTs and AEMTs or advanced EMTs. 34 of those are full-time and 14 are part-time. And we have 9 administrative staff, myself as the EMS director, 2 deputy directors, one over our operations division and another over our clinical affairs division, a training coordinator, quality improvement coordinator, our community paramedic coordinator, and a logistics specialist, our administrative assistant, and our medical director, who gives overall clinical oversight and assists us with protocols and technician release to practice. So over 2024, we had a lot of new additions to our department. We've added 6 new ambulances. Of those, 4 were out of an FY23 purchase. 1 was out of an FY24 and an additional one out of FY25. We've purchased 3 single unit response vehicles. Those are designed to increase our vehicle safety and increase our overall medication and supply efficacy with climate control and storage solutions. We've added new laptops to our fleet. These are multi-purpose, so they also serve as both a tablet and a laptop. We've added truck phones to all of our ambulances, so we are less reliant on the crews using their personal phones for use. It also gives us a secondary means of communications with our crews should they be in a building that doesn't allow for radio communications, or they're in a low spot where there's poor radio communications. It also allows them to have contact with our medical control, and those phones are also equipped with both protocol and medication drug reference apps for them to be able to use as a reference tool. We've added some additional equipment into our fleet as well. We've updated our responder bags. So we've replaced some that were broken, damaged, or aged with a better quality and more durable bag that will increase functionality and operability for our crews. We've added some new stretchers, upgraded to newer model that will allow for additional safety and patient comfort settings, and allow for a more ergonomic design for our crews to be able to maneuver those stretchers. We've also recently replaced all of our Lucas devices that were actually slated to be replaced in FY25, or I'm sorry, in next year. We replaced those early because the trade-in value was going to expire in December. So in order to capitalize on a $80,000 savings to the county, we went ahead and did that. So we've replaced all of the Lucas devices with new Lucas devices with updated programming settings. We've also added 4 non-paramedic field training officers, which is a new concept for not only the county, but for EMS across the nation. This allows advancement opportunities for our EMTs and our advanced EMTs, and allows more level playing field for our new hires to be able to work with a field training officer that's their same certification level. We've hired a total of 36 new employees with 3 separate hirings. The last hiring was one of the largest, was the largest academy in single hiring in Franklin County EMS history. Our new employees go through a operational and clinical process to be released to function, and it can take anywhere between 8 to 12 weeks for those people to be released on their own. As you know, we have started construction on 2 EMS stations. The first one being at the airport, which I saw pictures today, is actively under construction. We actually have walls up now. The Bund station is closely behind. Hopefully they'll start construction on that soon. And both of those stations are designed with room for expansion to accommodate future growth and deployment needs in the future. We also have an increased safety initiatives where we upgraded all of our safety vests with increased reflectivity and to meet safety standards for them to be breakaway. We've added personal flotation devices and throw ropes to all of the ambulances. So when crews are operating near water, they have a safety device. Also, if they need to perform a rescue, they have the throw ropes to be able to do that. And finally, we've added with our partners at Franklin County Communications, we've added a dedicated dispatch channel. So dispatching occurs only on one channel, and then our communications with dispatch occurs on another channel. We did that because if a crew needed to have instant communications with a dispatcher, they didn't have to wait for that dispatch to finish coming out over the radio. So if it was a safety concern or an immediate need, they were able to do that immediately. We've had 3 special projects that have started this year, or that we've worked on and almost completed this year. The first one being Project Hilo. We worked with our partners at Emergency Management, at Franklin County Communications, and with all of our local fire departments to help recognize landing zone locations across the county. So we have designated landing zone locations if we need to utilize a helicopter. Project Cardiac is to help increase CPR, the knowledge and the ability to perform CPR, as well as AED recognition and AED placement across the county. We're going to overlay all the AED locations onto a GIS map so that the dispatcher can see where the closest AED is. In case there's a cardiac arrest, they can reference that AED to whoever is the caller, so it'll be the closest to them. And finally, we've added Carter kits to all of our single responder vehicles. And Carter kits are sensory bags that contain clinically proven items known to comfort and appropriately focus children who are on the autism spectrum, as well as many other children who are occasionally find themselves overwhelmed or otherwise impacted during traumatic events. Our community paramedic program for 2024, they had a total of 975 referrals, both internally and externally. Internally, those referrals come from our EMS crews, and externally, those referrals come from UNC Nash, Mariah Parham Franklin, and our SMART team. We currently have 134 active clients, and an active client is defined as a
person that is still receiving resources from the program. We have 2 therapy dogs, Oakley and River. Oakley recently completed, or back in August, completed AKC certified therapy dog training. He was one of the first in the area to receive that certification. River is currently in training and will be completing her certification in early 2025. These are very beneficial assets for both internal and external partners and departments assisting in multiple debriefings following high stress or high acuity calls or critical calls. We have 1 program coordinator and 4 fill-in community paramedics that currently perform home visits, telehealth, resource assistance, QRV paramedic field assistance, community outreach events such as at schools, libraries, community fairs, and festivals. In 2022, there was an EMS study that had a total of 14 recommendations. We worked on some of those recommendations this year, and we completed 4 of them. The first one being to increase the community paramedic program operational value. And we did that by increasing the referrals and community outreach with the SMART team through the addition of a referral tool within the EMS documentation software. We also worked on shortening our dispatch times. So currently they're dispatching EMS units shortly after they receive what we call a chief complaint, or an initial report of what they're calling 911 for. If they're calling for chest pain, or they're calling for a headache, or they're calling because they're sick, as soon as they get that chief complaint, they're dispatching the call. And then the caller is staying on the line to get additional information, or if we need to have any additional units going to those calls. So that has dramatically decreased our response times and shortening the dispatch times. We also added additional tones for all of our trucks. When we first came on in January, we had an all call, which notified all of the trucks that there was a call. We've sub-parceled that out, so now each station has its own tone, so that station gets notified when they get a call, which has been very, very beneficial in helping to identify where the call is originating from. We've also received 4 additional ambulances that were in the 2022 study. We received those about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they are currently being outfitted to be added to the fleet. And we're working with Franklin County 911 to perform regular keyway reviews. So some of our recommendations that are currently in progress is working on increasing our recruitment and retention through attending career fairs and our community college partners when they're performing EMS classes, and also working on the succession plan for retention of our staff. A deployment matrix with a tiered response model, so that would include non-paramedic ambulances to the fleet to handle some of the lower acuity calls that can be handled by the EMTs and the advanced EMTs. EMS station replacements, so identifying some station locations that might be beneficial in accordance to our heat map. We look at a heat map regularly, and I'll show you that in just a few minutes. We are also working on additional single unit responders. Our supervisor currently oversees almost 500 square miles, and with 10 trucks, they're definitely beyond the recommended span of control of 5. So we need to look into adding an additional supervisor or single unit responder to that. Also, the AVL dispatching, we are very close to implementing the AVL dispatching, which stands for automated vehicle locator. So it will basically, when a call comes out, the computer will locate the closest resource to that call and map them the shortest distance to that call. So we can take the human element out of it, because currently they have to look at a map and see where other trucks are. And we're also defining a vehicle replacement schedule, so that will take in mind the year, the mileage, and also the maintenance records of the trucks as far as when one is going to be replaced. So if we have one that has an extreme maintenance where we've replaced a lot of things, even though their year isn't up, we might want to get rid of that one first. So we're working on a vehicle replacement schedule for that. This chart is directly out of the 2022 EMS study. And as you can see, in 2022, we were at 9,438 calls with a population of 72,608. We just finished 2024, and we actually had 11,178 calls, which, if you put it on the chart up above, is nearing 2028 predictions. And our population is estimated at a little over 80,000 people, which is approaching 2026 predictions. We also did a little bit on our unit hour utilization, which is how much our units are on task or how frequently they're being utilized. And our unit hour utilization for our department is 28%. And our highest unit is the Youngsville unit, which is at 36%. And a UHU is calculated by their scheduled hours divided by their time that they're on task, meaning time that they're on a call and on their way back to the station. All right, and this gives you a little reference tool for the last 6 years for our total EMS responses. Over the last year, from 2023 to 2024, we've seen a 10.3% increase in our call volume. And since 2018, we've had a 20.4% increase in our call volume. This graph reflects our peak times of the day. We start to ramp up about 6 o'clock in the morning, and we reach a relative plateau about 8 o'clock in the morning. And then we don't start declining until about 8 o'clock at night. So our peak hours are about 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. This gives percentage of what percentage of calls occur in what district. So 25% of our calls occur in Lewisburg, 21 in Youngsville, 20 in Bunn, 15 in Franklinton, 8 at the airport, 4 in White Level, and 3 in Justice. There's currently showing 4 as NA, and those are areas that are associated as schools or jails that have a predetermined location already in the CAD, but we're working on trying to get those filtered out for the 2025 data. This is what one of our heat maps look like. We now review these on a quarterly basis to make sure that we stay up to speed on where the hot areas are in the county to see if there's any trends. The brighter colors are where the increased call volumes are currently located, and then the numbers are correlated to where our station locations are. So moving ahead into 2025, some of our goals. Clinically, we are going to work on increasing opportunities to improve our patient care and diagnostics with the addition of more advanced, reliable, and affordable medical equipment, as well as performing thorough clinical research on alternative medication possibilities to afford alternative treatment options to our patients. We're going to work on expanding the community paramedic program to stay in front of the increasing number of clients and referrals to the community paramedic program, as well as giving increased opportunities for just-in-time outreach to potential clients and field resource for the crews. We also hope to increase our training opportunities both internally and externally through conferences and advanced classes, as well as bringing in outside instructors for some specialty classes. Operationally, we will be working to develop and execute an effective tiered response plan with those non-paramedic resources. The development of a special operations team that will consist of specialty trained employees that can function in special events, those that are trained for tactical medicine to work with some of the law enforcement partners and the SWAT team, some that are trained for disaster response, and others that are trained for technical rescue. We're also very close to implementing an asset and inventory management system called Operative IQ in place that will help to better track our assets and maintenance schedule and replacement schedule, as well as aim towards focusing on improved inventory management to improve accessibility to supplies with multiple vendors and faster ordering and decrease the overall costs. Within the department, we're going to really focus on recruitment and retention by working with our local community colleges and high schools systems that teach EMS related curriculum, as well as job fairs, career days, and community outreach opportunities to increase education and familiarity within EMS. We'll focus on retention and succession planning with goal and training programs to assist employees to advance within the department. I also want to work on some team building exercise to foster better cohesion and communication, trust, and collaboration amongst our shifts and department-wide to improve productivity, performance, morale, and encourage positive and supportive working environment. We hope to add a formal recognition promotional ceremony for promotion or important employee career milestones or events, such as educational goals, advancing certifications, crisis intervention team, cardiac arrest saves, field deliveries, and other impactful events. Finally, due to the rapid growth within Franklin County and increase with our services, we recommend an updated EMS study as well as future studies to occur every 4 years in order to stay progressive and maintain effectiveness in our delivery of service to the citizens and visitors of Franklin County. Appreciate your time. You have any questions?
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Master?
Yeah, I'm just curious, your alternative medications. Can you expand a little bit more on that? And, I'm intrigued by that. That's why.
There are many medications out there that are approved by multiple different systems out there. They're just not approved in our system. Each system kind of does things a little bit differently, just whatever is approved by not only the state that sets the guidelines, but also the county, the medical director. So we have a couple of medications that we've talked about adding to our repertoire, so to speak. But we're still doing some more research on those and to figure out if those would be beneficial, and then the cost wise and how they would have to be stored. So there's still a little bit more to do on those, but there's a couple of them out there that I think would be very beneficial to us.
How many of your staff actually do in-service training or teach in the classes at the community college that teach the EMS or the EMT?
Yeah, we have approximately 8 to 10 of our staff teach at community colleges or teach at some of the fire departments. So they perform those regularly. We actually just have one of our quality improvement coordinator just became a level 2 instructor, which is one of the highest level of instructors that you can obtain.
It's really good for recruiting, to be able to catch those young people when they're in the learning process and make a great impression, and kind of court the ones you can kind of get the inside of the pick of the litter.
Right. Well, we hope to eventually be able to host our own EMT class, and then we can work with those folks to become part of our organization.
So do you have typically in a truck, you have an EMT and a paramedic paired together? Is that how?
Typically our schedules are an EMT or an advanced EMT with a paramedic. We have done some, depending on how our dynamic staffing is for the day, where we've had to do an EMT and an advanced EMT. So we've had a non-paramedic truck on some days.
Right.
It just depends on how our staffing is for the day. But our effort is to have a paramedic on the core trucks.
You know, I have a lot of folks ask me, hey, the rest of you pick me up. All my doctors are right there at Wake Bed or Rex Hospital, and they carry me to Lewisburg. And I have a big heart problem or something of is it possible they could be picked up and carried right straight to the designation they wanted?
So we're still undergoing, we're still going under talks with the whole transportation policy, but we definitely transport people by where they would best get their if they meet a certain criteria. So if they are having an active heart attack, we would take them to a cardiac center, or if they're a trauma patient, they would go to a trauma center, or if they're having a stroke, they would go to a stroke center. So we definitely take those into play, but the whole transportation policy is still under review right now.
Look, you go right here to Lewisburg High School, you get you some more help over there. They got a good program going on. Lewisburg High School.
Mm-hmm.
When you would say the people that need to go to a like Wake Med or something like that, do you have it in a system where that'll pop up? And not a lot of debate trying to figure out.
No, there's no reference tool that says, you know, this person goes to this hospital. So yeah, we don't have that.
Like you'd need that on record or something. Sure. about time-wise.
Right. Well, again, that goes back to the transportation policy.
Okay.
We have the transportation policy that's currently in place, so that.
So you don't have anything on place, on record, on certain individuals in the county
Not to my-
having a
not to my
heart
knowledge.
condition and that they need to go to their doctor?
Not
Is
to
that
my
right? I
knowledge.
didn't know that.
So your transportation policy, so if I'm a person who has had a heart attack and I have a heart doctor, and I've got some issues, and I call EMS because something not related to my heart.
You would be transported to the most appropriate facility.
Right,
The
because I
closest
don't need to go to
appropriate
my heart doctor because a stomach cramp is most likely not my heart. It's
If we run the test, right, if we,
Correct.
if we run tests and show that you're not having an active heart attack, then.
right, and you all would make that discernment on site with a patient assessment before you make the decision on where you.
That's correct.
So I mean, I think these are the types of things that we need to have those words shared here, because I appreciate your transportation policy, but to the public, that doesn't give much definition.
Right.
I firmly believe that if someone needs real medical care above and beyond what is local, I don't believe that there's any staff that we have that would deny them the opportunity to take them where they get the most care. These people have a passion to care for people, what they do. They've gone to school and they've committed themselves to learning human body and medicine. Why would they not make that judgment call? So I would love for us to decipher that as a board. I'd love for us to get past this perception that our EMS staff is going to sit and go, no, we're not taking you to Wake Med because your heart doctor's in Wake Med, but got a stomach ache. I'm not saying a stomach ache is not a bad thing, less thing, but yeah, if it's cancer and it's this, it's just they're very different.
Right.
And I think we need, as a board, we really need to have a different discussion about that and support Mr. Masters and our med staff so that they aren't continue to be badgered by this conversation.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mark and I were tasked from this board to look at the transportation system and how we do it and if there's any improvements and things. And I think one of our first steps would be to talk with y'all, meet
Absolutely.
y'all first.
Absolutely.
And then I have some contacts at the state that I think will be very helpful also that we can also talk to after we meet you. The first thing is we need to talk with y'all.
Mhm.
So I'm sure that Mark and I'll be getting with you since it's after the holidays now. Because this was just before the holidays that we were tasked with this.
Mhm.
So we'll be getting with you, looking at that.
Sounds good.
and That policy.
I have one more question and let you go. Currently, frontline trucks, you said there were 10. Is that how you ordered it? Frontline being, how would you describe it? Like actually on, I would call it on call, on duty, frontline trucks?
Frontline are the trucks that we staff.
Sure. So are we, for 2025, moving in and out of 2025, we have, I believe, 4 new trucks. Is that right? 4 new trucks that just
Well,
came
we
in?
have 4 that just came in. and-
Are we adding, are we going to go, say, 10 to 14 frontline trucks with staff? Where's our goal at?
No, because we have a certain amount of trucks that are being surplus.
Right.
So we actually have 4 trucks that are being surplused and then 2 SUVs that are being surplus. So we
Okay.
have 6 vehicles that are being surplus.
Okay.
Those can't be surplus until we take some of the equipment
Sure.
off of those. So it's kind of a one-for-one exchange. with those.
I guess my point is with the population growth here, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but are we growing as well with staff and trucks? Like, are we growing with the population here?
Hopefully.
Okay.
Well, let me just say this,
Yeah.
and Matt's not going to say it, so I will. He's came in January.
Okay.
And there's been significant improvement in the staffing, and you can talk more to that, but as someone who has worked closely with Matt over the last year, we have seen significant improvement in the staffing, which equates to basically the question you're asking. So we're slowly but surely moving in that direction, and his deputies have really helped with that. But Matt has really championed getting those positions filled and working to improve so we have more trucks on the road, have more people out there helping, as you say, that want to do that job and want to help people. So kudos to you and your staff.
Thank you. Yeah, when we first came on, we had some challenges, as any EMS organization across the state and across the country had, where, you know, staffing wise, we were only at about four trucks,
Yeah.
5 trucks, and it was some real big struggles.
Yeah.
And so currently we're sitting at about 8 trucks, give or take, just depending on call outs and vacations and stuff like that happen, right? So we've nearly doubled what we had at the beginning of the year. So these are steps in the right direction. It's like I tell my staff in the office, and they probably get tired of me saying it, but it's baby steps, but we're making progress.
That's fine. Please don't take that as me calling you out in any way. I was
No,
just
that's
actually
fine.
curious, or, you know, are we growing in that? So that's
Right.
good.
And
Very
we
happy.
meet quarterly, so
Yep.
our department meets quarterly to evaluate and identify any increasing trends. So when I said the UHU was at 28% for our department and 36 for Youngsville, at the 30% mark is a trigger for us that we need to start identifying a second resource for that area because it's been a high call volume. So yeah, it's something that is definitely in discussions, and there's a lot of planning and logistics that has to go behind it. But yes, we have really identified the need to grow more.
Question.
Yes, sir.
I just want to go over this again. Commissioner Davis hit on. So we're bringing on 4 new trucks, but we're surplusing 6 out. Did I hear that right?
We are surplusing 4 ambulances and 2 SUVs.
Okay.
2 of our SUVs are.
So the net result is going to be maybe just the same amount of trucks.
Well, those are with 10, we have 10 frontline trucks.
Okay.
And then we have a certain amount of spares that will backfill those trucks if one of those trucks goes to the shop.
Okay.
So
Well, I guess, let me ask it this way. If you're bringing on 4 new ones, how many will we have that can go out on calls?
So the 4 new ones are replacing the ones that are currently in service, that are
Okay.
being decommissioned because of.
Okay, so we're not getting more trucks, we're just getting newer trucks.
Correct. When I
Okay.
first came on in January, over half of our fleet was over
Yeah,
150,000
well, I mean, I
miles.
understand that, high mileage, but I'm all in favor of increasing the number of trucks on the highway.
I like that.
I mean,
concept too.
especially if your population has doubled.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep on hearing these new trucks coming out, but it's not going to be, they're just replacing some old things.
Matt?
Yeah.
They're new, not additional.
So, and if you
Yeah,
focus-
that's right.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
you go
it's-
back to the COVID situation, that's why this is snowballed. During COVID, we couldn't buy ambulances.
Okay,
And we went a couple, 2, maybe 3 years where I think we got 1. And then we were able to get our hands on like 2 more out of the clear blue. Southeastern said, hey, end of the year, we got 2 left over, somebody to come get, and we're like, we'll be there in an hour.
Yeah.
And so then we were able to up the ante, and as COVID supply chain has now kind of replenished itself, that's why you're seeing this big number hitting quickly. Because also this board in the budget process back in 22, I believe it was, or 21 or 22, we started making it a standard staple to replace a vehicle every year. We budgeted in our CIP every year for a new ambulance so that we didn't get caught behind with aging vehicles and the inability to create those responses. So,
Right.
and then we also had the same thing with staffing. We had that whole labor shortage crunch. We had all of the local communities raising the salaries and pulling people away from smaller places like Franklin County to go to bigger places that paid more and could pay more. And the fact that you got that staff together, I saw those numbers. That's almost a 50%.
Yeah, we actually, the
Increase.
last hiring, we had 52 applicants.
It's wonderful because we couldn't get 3, I think. I mean, I'm
We just
being
need some
facetious,
will.
but it was horrible.
Well, and a little history about the ambulances, just so you're aware, is ambulances can take anywhere between 24 to 36 months to produce. So if we identify a need today, it's going to be 2 to 3 years before I can get another.
do we have something going on to get additional ones?
So that's what we're-
Instead of waiting the 3 years to
Yeah,
get one?
we're working with the different ambulance manufacturers to try to decrease that time, but
Okay.
we kind of need to stay ahead of
So
that. So
how many more do we have requested now?
we're at 1 right now.
1, and it might take 3 years to get it.
Yeah.
Or get some
Current.
more on the books or something,
Yeah.
because this county's growing.
Yes.
It is growing by leaps and bounds.
So Matt, talk a little bit about how more staffing and putting through training equates to putting more trucks on the road with these new trucks. So talk a little bit about that and what that change has been over the last year.
So, yeah, So adding more trucks would definitely improve our overall or decrease our overall UHU or unit hour utilization and to be able to handle some of the increase in call volume. Having a tiered response would help in having additional units at not quite the cost of what a paramedic is. They're a little bit cheaper because you're not having to have a paramedic. You can have an advanced EMT that can do a significant amount of skills just shy of what a paramedic can do. So those things are hugely beneficial in adding those to our fleet. So if we can get those, you know, that's an increase as we go on with those to expand, that would be a huge benefit.
Thank you, Matt. Good job.
Any other questions for Matt? Thank you, Matt. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're gonna move on to item number 5, which is gonna be chair recognition. Mr. Boyd, you would like to step forward in front and center? I'm gonna present you with a plaque.
You heard that lately, have you?
No,
Front and center.
That comes from the men's department of the Navy.
Y'all got my back now. So on behalf of the commission, I appreciate serving chairman of our board of 2024. Thank you very much. It was a 1 minute. It's 34 years, worth every minute. Thank you very much. Or 35 now.
That's right.
Harry, I saw them kids getting in line to get in the Santa Claus lap. I heard a few of them say, "What's Harry for?" They both sit in Harry's lap.
I hear you, boss man.
Okay, item number 6 is other business. Is there any other business that needs to be brought before this board tonight? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 7, which is the board manager and clerk's comments. We will start off with Ms. McCray. Okay. Thank you. Ms. King? Yes, ma'am, I was. Mr. Ford?
Yes, one thing I'd like to go over, get back into, Commissioner May commented on it. We were together on that last school visit over there at Lewisburg High School, or they call it Lewisburg Magnet School. I was very impressed with those classrooms where they do the EMT, EMS training. And from what I understand, some of those people may be ready to hit the ground upon graduation. And what a plus you could recruit those right from Lewisburg High School right there to get on the rescue and help us out with the shortage on labor. And I'm all too aware of being shorthanded in my store business and manufacturing business. But and getting back, Mr. Masters, when I was approaching your question about your vehicles, I know you're not the one that makes the calls on that. It's us 7 right here. And I definitely think you need to go ahead. He says he's got one scheduled to come 3 years from now. We're going to need probably 5 or more 3 years from now, the way things are growing. And if we dilly-dally, put it off, one thing I believe in is supporting fire and rescue squads, whatever we got to do. We need to do that part. That's human life. And I was kind of appalled that when I heard that mention about if a person's on record having a heart condition, I have been told, of course, I hear everything in the world. Sometimes I take it with a grain of salt, but I was under the understanding that they were like sort of on record having a heart condition, they were kind of automatically picked up as getting taken to Wake Med or Rex. But that's not what I'm hearing. And I'm not getting on you, Mr. Masters, by no means. You're at our pleasure. I'd like to see that move along. More rescue trucks and getting people that have and I don't mean for just skin and elbow or I have an upset stomach, but if it's a true condition that's on record, we need to, for the sake of time, get them down there, and so we're not dilly-dallying about which way we're going to take them. So, because time is critical when you're having heart problems. Wouldn't want that on our hands for not resolving this issue. Anyway, that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Ford.
Sure.
Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Don't have a lot, but still learning, gathering data, gathering information. Again, everybody's been very, very good to me. I will make a quick note, Matt, to carry to what Commissioner Ford, what you're saying right there. My wife and most of these guys know, kudos to one of your teams, and I don't remember. My wife was in a terrible accident in August. She had head trauma. Your paramedic and EMT team initially made the decision to go to Wake Med North. I was en route to meet her, and then her condition deteriorated between Youngsville and Wake Forest, and they made the call to go to Wake Med Maine, which was the absolute right call. I couldn't get the information. I was mad because I couldn't get the information on why we were going there, but that wasn't my concern at the moment. I knew where to redirect to. So to your point that at least for that particular team, showed great wisdom, making the right call and got it there in a prompt manner. So obviously, looking at this and things to improve on always, but the human element here, when people are trained right and people are trained correctly, a lot of times they make the right call. So thank you to that. And that's it.
Commissioner Stroud.
I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman. It's just always good to be back to do this business. And it's really satisfying that the Youngsville folks are gone, mayor and town manager, but your assistant's still there. But it was a good day today to be able to put that together and bring that to light and be able to show, regardless of what you hear sometimes, the reality is what you see, not what you hear. Not seeing that. It's satisfying. I look forward to more. Look forward to more seeing than listening. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner May.
Oh, all right. Start out with the county commissioner making some school visits. And, we've only done 2 right now, but I'm really impressed with the work going on with both of those schools. Everybody's doing a good job, good employees everywhere. And then then we went on to, let's see, the Epsom groundbreaking, the ribbon cutting at Franklin, and the employee pinning we done it right here. Franklin County's got a lot of good people, good employees. I love it. But I'm gonna tell you, when I was out on the campaign trail, shaking hands with a lot of people, and I asked people what they wanted, and they said, well, we just got our tax papers. Do something about our taxes. And I'd just like to say, this is what I told them. I said, we need to get it there, and we can need to appeal these things. So my suggestion is making a motion, write a letter to all our Franklin County people, and let them know they need to make an appeal, give them another chance, and let's see if we can hit them.
I second that motion.
Okay, motion has been made. And second. All in favor? Say aye.
Ah.
All opposed? Motion carries.
There was some hot folks.
Well, it was.
And look, I had one
There's a
woman,
high
in
commissioner right here too for a while, just for the record.
I had one woman in Youngsville, she said her taxes went up even 4 or 5 times. And I said, well, you must have spent a lot of money on your house. She said, I painted my front door black, young man. And she smiled at me. I said, good thing you didn't paint it gold or silver.
Okay. Commissioner Speed.
Yeah, I'll just reflect a little bit on what Mr. May and Boy have commented about the school visits that we've had and how impressed I am with Lewisburg High School, and I have a true comparison with that because I am a graduate of Lewisburg High School, and that facility has come a long way since I've been there. First time I had visited the campus since graduating, other than going to some ball games. But very, very impressed with that. And also with the EMS, Commissioner Boyd, I hear what you're saying there on, hospitals of choice, which I agree on that, but I don't see how we can expect EMS to have a record of every citizen in the county, doctor or hospital they go to. So I can understand that. I do look forward to working with you, Matt, and to Commissioner Bragg on, amending the transportation policy to make it more appealing to our citizens now. So hopefully we can get together soon on that. Going back to some of your comments, Commissioner Shriver, as far as confidentiality on some of the things that you're doing, you and Commissioner Boyd and myself work behind the scenes. We spent a lot of hours on this development agreement. The main reason to help the town of Youngsville this time. And I just wanted to recognize y'all on that. I think a lot of credit is due in that respect to help prod this bypass along. We did not take this action tonight. We're looking at many, many years down the road, even getting it started. So some very important action.
Okay. Commissioner Bragg.
I too attended the Epsom Park ribbon cutting in Epsom, and those folks are really proud. They've been wanting to park over there for a long time, and I think it's going to be a really nice park over there. And we had really good ribbon cutting that morning. It was cold. It was very cold that day, but it was very nice. It was a very nice ceremony. I also attended the Franklinton Park basketball court ribbon cutting. And I have to tell y'all, I'm a little redneck country girl, right? So they said we're going to put a basketball goal at all these parks, right? So I go up there thinking, okay, we're going to have a basketball goal. It's going to be sitting in the middle, and you're going to play basketball with that goal. That's what I grew up with. I get over there, and there's this fabulous court. Y'all must see these basketball goals that they're putting up at the parks. They are to die for. There's 2 goals. They're all cemented. They're painted gorgeously. They're fenced in. Very well done. I'm so impressed with our county and how we put our goals up, and what came out of that. Because that's not what I envisioned. Because I just envisioned a small little court in the yard.
The tree roots. The tree roots on the ground.
Yeah, I did. That's what I envisioned. But no, y'all must go. You need to see our parks. We have the Franklinton Park is beautiful, And you need to go and see those, and you should see the new basketball court there, and I'm sure the one in Lewisburg looks like that, and the others that we put up, the one that's going up in Bunn's gonna look like that too. I'm impressed with them. I did attend the Franklinton Town Board meeting. I think that was last week. I attended that. We have had our parades, and I was in the Franklinton parade, which was the only night parade. So I typically ride, that Franklinton has a float, has a commercial float that they get for all the commissioners and myself. And so they put county commissioners and Franklinton Town councilmen on that same float, and we ride on that. We're one of the first ones to go through, so that's always fun, and I've done that ever since I've been a commissioner. The school visits, I also attended those. I'm proud to say I have not missed one school visit. I've been to every one so far. I think we're dwindling down. We may have like 4 more or something like that to go. I'm happy to go to Franklinton next week because that's my hometown and where I went to school at. So I'm real excited about going to those. We have a lot of schools in this county to go through, and we have a great program. We talk about with the schools. We have our public schools, but as commissioners, we do fund the public schools. We also fund the charter schools. And I have requested that we visit some of the charter schools also. And we need to go in those as well as the public schools because we fund those also. And we need to see what's going on in those schools too. So I hope that we continue these visits and go to some of the charter schools too. So lastly, I just want to reiterate this property in Franklinton that we're purchasing. Every conversation we've had about this piece of property, we have said EMS and Senior Citizen Center in Franklinton. We've discussed getting the property, but anytime we've discussed use, that was the use that we intended that from the original get-go. And that's what I'm going to stand by, because that's what we've talked about in our closed sessions. That's it.
Okay.
Hey, all them functions always had some good snacks too.
All right. Mr. Preble, would you like to comment?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for the feedback on our Animal Services Department. I appreciate that. And I want to give a quick update on where we stand on several things with the Animal Services Department. We've offered positions to 5 applicants, with several starting in the next week or so. We currently have advertised the outreach coordinator position that we're working through now. We work with external stakeholders on updating our standard operating procedures with help from our advisory board, and are incorporating new state regulations on that as we move forward. We are also coordinating with state reps from the North Carolina Department of Ag on best practices and operations, and we can continue to work through that as we move into the new year. Additionally, we've had several, I'll say, positive conversations with those who have expressed concerns about animal services. We're working to incorporate those suggestions and are moving forward, and appreciate that feedback. So thank you for that, and we continue to listen and continue to work together to find solutions. So thank you for that. I wanted to put a plug out. We should be getting a groundbreaking date for the Bunn EMS station really soon. So look forward to moving forward with that. And as Commissioner May said, we have a lot going on in Franklin County. And last but not least, I'll say Happy New Year, and I look forward to working with all of you in 2025.
Very good. All right, so that leaves me. I attended the groundbreaking at Epsom Park on that cold day. We didn't hang around long after. And I attended the last animal advisory meeting, which they didn't have a quorum. And we're going to be working on that so we can get the appointments back on that, so they can have a quorum and have a true meeting. And several concerns were addressed at that meeting, and some of them I addressed immediately with the county manager as well as Jerry Jones himself. So we are trying to work towards a positive outcome to y'all's concerns. We all want the same thing. We want what's best for the animals and what's best for our county. And finally, I'd like to share with y'all a card that we received from Robert Lee Swanson's family. I'm gonna pass it around. It's a lot to read, but I'm gonna pass it around so each of y'all could take a look at it. And with that being said, it brings us to our next item on the agenda, which is closed session. The board is asked to enter into closed session pursuant to the following North Carolina general statutes. NCGS 143-318.11A3, attorney-client privilege communication. NCGS 143-318.11A5, real property purchase, contracts, and leases. And NCGS 143-318.11A6, personnel. What is the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Motion carries. See you in 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Well, we got a quorum now, so I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion. Make a motion to adjourn.
No, we got to come out of closed session first.
Oh, I make a motion to come out of closed session.
Motion's made. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
I make a
opposed?
motion to adjourn.